Hi, I'm Queen, and welcome to the very first episode of my podcast, Beauty in the Breaking, a sacred space created for women to share real stories and build a stronger, more compassionate community. This platform was born out of a deep need I felt for years for women to have a safe space, honest place to talk about healing, about strength, and about the experiences that shape our lives. Each episode will dive into what I call complex conversations, the ones that are often hard to talk about, but impossible to ignore. Whether it's navigating trauma, rebuilding confidence, or learning to own your own voice, this space is for you. During this first episode, we'll talk about something very personal, yet powerfully important: sexual assault, how to navigate through, and how to live a purposeful life after.
Why did you choose to start with this topic, surviving sexual assault?
Because I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault. And so I wanted to give women who look like me and children a safe space to heal and to know that they are not alone with what they dealt with or what they may be going through.
How has your experience shaped your sense of self and your mission?
My experience has probably altered my life since it happened. It has given me a different perspective, an outlook on life, if that makes sense. The way I see life and things that happen around me may be somewhat different than the average woman, person, girl, child. Just growing up, I noticed that I was a little bit more reserved in certain areas. Specifically, rearing children. It's definitely changed my life with rearing children. I know that I'm probably what they would consider overprotective, if there's a such thing. I don't think any mother can be overprotective, but if there's such thing, I think I that person overprotected.
When did you first realize what happened to you was assault?
I immediately knew what was happening to me uh, not being right. I didn't have a name for it. Uh, if I'm honest with you, I've never identified it or had a name for it because today I'm 49. I've never looked up the term rape, molestation, and so that's why I refer to it as sexual assault, childhood sexual assault, because I was a child when it happened, so I didn't have a definition for it. When I finally told my mom, I told her that I had been raped. But I don't even know where that word came from because before I used it that day, I had never heard of it. The hardest part of processing my experience was knowing that this was the person that I called my dad. So, because of that, it was it was extremely hard to admit to myself and others that this was someone I trusted. This was someone I waited on to come home from work, to cuddle up with, to spend time with. So, in my mind, as a child, did I do something inappropriate to warrant this? For that reason, I held myself responsible for so long. And I think that was the reason I didn't disclose this information because I felt like I had done this to myself.
Did you feel supported when you first shared your story?
I did feel supported when I first shared my story. Of course, I shared it to my mom, and my mom immediately got me to a hospital to have me checked out. Um, she notified her sisters, the family she was close enough with, and the ones she trusted with this information. She let them know what happened, and she uh, made sure that I understood it wasn't my fault and that she would be there for me. The only thing is, I don't think she had the support she needed to be able to help me, if that makes sense. I don't think she knew how to help me. And because she didn't know how to help me, I didn't get the help I needed as a child. In most Black families or Black communities or in the Black family, for the most part, these things happen. And especially when they happen with people you know, people you trust, people that you leave your children in the care of, or people you don't think this could happen with, you tend to ignore it or deal with the surface and not necessarily the healing that comes after it, the therapy, the checking on the child just to make sure that she is or he is okay. That didn't happen. I think the first thing was to get medical attention, and that's what she did. So she got medical attention, and then she stopped me from being able to go with this person. That wasn't all I needed. I didn't know what I needed at the time, but that wasn't all I needed.
What kind of support do you wish your mom had to assist you?
That's a good question. And I think another part of me not being able to answer that effectively is because I never want to blame my mom. That's another reason I probably didn't say anything as quick as I did. Or it's probably another reason I haven't talked about this a whole lot. I never wanted my mom to feel like she was to blame, that she didn't protect her child, that it was something else she could have done. Um, I just never wanted her to feel blame. I think she could have possibly sought after more resources. But this is over 30 years ago. I'm a child. I don't know what resources out there. I don't know how you find the resource. And I want to believe that she may not have either. So I don't think she was able to do more than what she did, which was get medical attention and take me out of that space and make sure that I wasn't near that person again. I just didn't want her to feel like she didn't protect her child.
And do you feel like she did everything in her power to protect you?
She didn't because she didn't know. Now, had she known, I think this would be a different conversation. And it's those things as a child. Although I'm young, I know that if my mom tells my brother, if she tells certain people, this could lead to possibly my brother going to jail, possibly my mom losing her mind, killing this person. My baby sister now won't have a father. And what sounds so crazy and it's so hard to even talk about. This was a good person before that. And so, how do you tell someone that the man that is taking care of your family, he's married your mother, he's taking care of her children that are not his biologically, he's the provider of the home, he's the protector when we're in the home, is now the person violating your daughter, is now the person that has violated your child, is now the person that your daughter has told you, he's done me something that I know is not right. As a child, having that information, I knew that that wouldn't go well. I didn't know how to articulate it at the time, and I don't think me articulating it to them, I would have been believed. Did my mother believe me when I told her? Yes, she did. And she also asked, why did I keep this information so long? And I didn't have an answer other than I thought not I would get in trouble, but other people would get in trouble with this information. And I thought I was to blame for it. So
When was your turning point? When did healing begin for you?
Healing began for me when I went to church one Sunday and the pastor talked about forgiveness. He talked about forgiveness not being for the person who has done you something wrong, but forgiveness being for you. In order to heal, you have to forgive. And I know the Bible teaches us about forgetting and forgiving. I'm not going to say that I'll ever forget. Although it's a biblical principle, I remember this. I remember this like it's yesterday. Every time I think about it, I can tell you what happened outside of the things that are cloudy. But in order for me to heal or to begin some source of healing, I had to forgive. So that sermon, it resonated well in my soul. And I remember leaving church, going to his house, and I told him I forgive him. And he thanked me for forgiving him, but he still never apologized. And I think I was waiting on that apology or him to take responsibility or accountability for what he had done and not just thank me for forgiving him. So I knew that healing had to start with me forgiving. And so after that sermon that was preached, I had to be forgiving.
So, I want to talk a little bit about breaking the silence, encouraging advocacy, education, and creating change. What do you wish people better understood about survivors?
I wish people understood that there are so many variables to a traumatic child abuse circumstance. There are still things that we don't talk about. There are things that we're embarrassed about. We don't think people will understand us. So, even with me having this conversation through this podcast today, I feel like there's some things that I really want to say, and that maybe it's not the right time right now, but there are so many things that I know everybody wouldn't understand. A survivor will. A survivor will understand. If she's been through this, she'll understand. Uh, One of the things, and I'm going to use this as an example, how do you still say that this was a good person, yet he did something so horrible? He was a good person before the horrible thing happened. And so I can't take those things away and make him just this horrible person. What he did was horrible. What he did to me was horrible. Who he was prior to this, he was my dad. He was my daddy. This was the only daddy I knew. So because of that, I suppressed the wrongdoing and made excuses for all the stuff he had done right, or what he had done good, or who he was prior to this. So that made it even that much harder to talk about, because who's going to believe a child saying, this man who has done all of these great things, who was this great person, who had these good tendencies, to now have done this, which that takes away all of the good. In my eyesight, now there is no more good. But this is who this person was. It's hard to have that conversation with someone. I remember my mother saying, and I don't know how true this is, but I'm just using this as an example. I remember my mother saying that my grandfather said, "Oh, that didn't happen." Dolores made that up. And so, as a child, to hear that someone in the family didn't believe me. So, if someone in the family didn't believe me, what would others think? What would the outsiders think? Do you really believe a child would make up a story with details such as this? But when I go to the hospital, because it didn't happen that day, there was nothing they could find other than the child has been touched inappropriately. She had been penetrated. We can't tell you by who or when because it didn't happen that day. So to hear that my grandfather may have said that didn't happen, that then shut me down. Now, again, I don't know if that's true or not. This was overheard at some point. So, did he really feel that way? I don't know. Did he just take the position of a man vouching for another man? I don't know. I'm a child, but this was something I heard. So it made it even that much harder to talk about. It's not an easy conversation. It's not an easy conversation to talk about.
Why is it important to speak out even when it's hard?
My primary reason for speaking out is personal. My primary reason for speaking out is personal. I have three daughters. I have three daughters and a son. I love them so much. I have two granddaughters. My reason for speaking out is to educate them, to inspire them, and to let them know that it's a safe space in our home. It's okay to tell us when something is happening that they don't think should be. So, my primary reason was to protect my children. My primary reason was to protect my children. Outside of that, I think women who have dealt with this need someone to say, you are not alone. You are not the first person. You may not be the last. So you need to be empowered and equipped to be able to handle talking to your children, your grandchildren, your community, your nieces, your nephews, anybody who this may happen to, so that we can take care of you and help you as soon as we can when it happens. I went so long without the therapy I needed because I stayed silent. I believe that had I opened up when it first happened, and I beat myself up about that, had I said something sooner, the touch would not have gotten the chance to become more. Of course, it started with the touch. Then, from a touch that I'm not going to do this again, this won't happen again. I apologize that this happened. Please don't tell anybody. And you want to believe that as a child. You want to believe that. So you go home and you don't say anything. Then the touch becomes more than a touch. Then the touch becomes more often. And so now we're in a position where, how can I say something where I've allowed the touch to become more when I should have said something earlier on? So now I'm holding myself accountable. As a child at 7, 8, 9 years old, I'm holding myself accountable for something I didn't do to myself. I didn't welcome it. I didn't go in a room and ask to be touched inappropriately. I didn't go in a room and say, let me sleep next to you. I didn't do those things, but I held that in because I didn't talk about the touch. That's how it started for me.
What are your hopes for other women who hear your story?
My hopes for other women who hear my story is one, like I said, for them not to feel like they're alone. Even with all of what's going to embarrass you, what you feel is going to be humiliating, talk about it, because these things that we don't talk about, that we don't deal with, they linger into other relationships. They linger into your marriage. They linger into the way you raise your children. They linger into the relationships you have with people because they don't understand why you're saying, no, my children can't spend the night. They don't understand why you say, no, my girls can't wear that. They don't understand when you say, no, my children not going there. They don't understand when you say, turn that off the TV. So those things will spill off into other relationships if you don't talk about them, if you don't get the help you need, if you don't open up and have those conversations with people who you around every day.
So, what does healing look like for you today?
Healing for me, healing looks like